everyone. My name is Carolyn Hinds from Critic and Journalist, and this is one of my special interviews for KCrush American Magazine for the 2024 Toronto International Film Festival. It's here in Toronto, and I live here, so finally getting to cover another film festival in person, which is rare for me. And I'm very happy to be joined by filmmaker Ali Samadi Ahadi to talk about his film 7 Days. So the film is about Maryam, who is an activist in Iran who was imprisoned for 6 years, and after 6 years, she was granted medical leave for some issues that she's been having. And while on this medical leave, she has the opportunity to meet with her family, and she has the very difficult choice: does she run or does she stay and fight in prison? So I think the film has such an interesting premise because it talks about, yes, the struggle for freedom for women in Iran, and talks about women's rights and women's choices politically, but it also talks about women's rights and choices within a family. What is the context of sacrifice? The film made me think of the sacrifice for the few for the many, and the sacrifice of the many for the few. In this case, the few is the family, because it's Maryam, her husband, and her 2 children, Allorz and Dena, and she has to decide, who do I want to sacrifice in my quest for freedom and equality for women. So thank you so much, Ali, for making this film, and thank you so much for speaking to me about it today. And congratulations on the premiere here at the festival.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you. So I went through, I'm going to ask you first. I went through your filmography, and you've done films in very different genres. You've done animated films, you've done short films, you've done other feature-length films, you've done documentaries. And so this one is more of a dramatic, this is more a kind of what you would say, more straightforward dramatic feature. So can you talk to me about how you decide on what type of projects you want to make and the times you do them, because you have a very long filmography and such a diverse filmography.
Yeah, thank you very much. The starting point for me always is when I want to start a project, is the big question, what the story needs from me, and how can I serve this project? So I try really to figure out how my skills, my knowledge can help to tell the story, and where do I lack of knowledge, which I have to learn. And by doing so, I never stick on genres or on style, but I start with the need of the topic. So I change my genres and my style to serve better to the topic and to the story and to the film.
And so this film, 7 Days, was written by Rasoulof. And so talk to me about working with him on this project. How did you and him come together to decide to this is the project you want to develop next and the film you want to make next?
Actually, the project was planned by Rasoulof himself to shoot it and to film it, but when he started the pre-production, he got arrested in Iran and was imprisoned for a month. And when he came out, he called me up and said it is impossible for me to continue working on this project. They are so much under control and observation, and things are becoming tough. And he offered me, or he asked me, if I wouldn't do this project, which was a huge decision for me, and huge challenge. So after thinking and rethinking about it, I accepted to go for it, and I brought my team together, and we started. Within 5 months, we've financed the film, found the cast, found the locations, and shoot and finish the movie.
That is so quick.
Yeah, it is incredible, crazy. It is like the fastest project I have ever done in my life.
I imagine, and like because you have so much pressure, but um, do you think that one of the reasons you wanted to make it so quickly was to be able to make sure that he could um in a way be as close to the project as possible with regards to like the timeline, like instead of a film being made like 2 or 3 or 4 years later down the road, where like his connection to it might wane a bit? Because I was looking at his IMDb, and he actually has another film showing here at TIFF called The Seed of the Sacred Fig. So like, do you think that the speed has a little bit to do with that, like to make sure that his connection to the project was stayed as close and as present as possible?
No, the the main aim was, things are so 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 much fast moving in Iran. You don't know what is going on, what is the next, what happens in this society, and we just wanted to be as much as quick as possible to send into the people, to send to the activists in Iran that we hear the voice.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important because there's this phrase that we say home in Barbados firm, which says speed is of the essence. If you want something, if you want to hold on to the essence of something, you have to do it as quickly as possible, but as
Yeah,
carefully as possible. So that was kind of like your process for the
yeah,
film, maintain the essence and do it as carefully and as quickly as possible.
true.
And I do know a bit about his story with regards to him being arrested, because I remember it was in the news here I think a few months ago when they mentioned about him, and it was talking about I think about having to go into exile, and it was the choice of like running, like, do you stay and fight, or do you run and protect yourself so you can continue to make the stories you want to make and do what
Yeah,
you want to do.
yeah,
And I kind of saw it as how the film parallels his life, and the life of so many other people in Iran and in other countries where, and like in Gaza right now, in Palestine, where you have to decide, do I stay in my homeland and advocate for my people there, or do I escape to somewhere else and live to see another day so I can advocate for my people there? And it's such a tough choice. Like, I'm an immigrant, but my experience in no way compares to that, because the circumstances are extremely disparate. But can you talk to me about making the film, having that reality in the back of your mind with regards to his story mirroring Maryam's story in the film?
yeah. I think the question of staying or leaving and the benefits of being abroad and working from there, or staying in the country and working from there. This is a question which really affects millions of peoples.
Mm,
It is a topic. I mean, we have nearly 8 million Iranian in diaspora. It is a
mm,
huge amount of the society, and all these people have had this question in their mind when they left Iran. And the same thing is in the head of millions of people which stay in Iran. Um, and you cannot say that the answer is right for everybody. It is so personal, such a personal decision that people have really to make it for themselves. Uh, but especially for human rights activists, of course, if they leave the country, they they are out of the water. Like it is like a fish is out of its own water.
mm,
You don't feel the society. You don't feel so close the pain. You don't feel, and you have less access to the people. So in comparison, for like filmmakers,
mm,
human rights activists needs really to be so close
yeah.
to their people, and this is also the reason why people like Nagas Mohammadi or Nasrin Sotoudeh, huge, very strong human rights activists, stay in the country and fight from there, because they understand that if they leave, they lose on power. Uh, Power for fighting for this right. And the decision for my colleagues like Mamad Rasoulof to decide to leave the country is yeah, for filmmaker, if you don't make films, you're not filmmaker anymore. And and he hopes, and I think he's not alone in that, that he can continue working in diaspora, which is not guaranteed and not sure, because the history has shown that it is very very hard. Even people in the German fascist time, when Germany was in the hand of Nazis, had to go to leave Europe and went to America. In that time, Germany had a huge film industry, and
Yes.
and people were not succeeded in the US. Only a bunch of them, maybe three or four.
Mm.
The rest disappeared because coping with a new society and telling the story of a society which you don't know is incredibly difficult.
It is. And the thing is, it's like, if everyone leaves, who's going to be left to hold on
Definitely, yes.
to your whole to your identity and homeland? Everyone can't leave. And so
Yeah,
like you do have like people do have to stay, but like the film is about the choice, and about the stakes, because each person's situation is different. Like for her, like she was in prison, but she also has the health issues,
yeah,
but she has a daughter and a son and a husband. And this film makes that choice very, very personal. It brings it from her talking about fighting for the people to like fighting for her family.
yeah,
And I think it's so funny, like this entire festival season, so many of the films I've been watching have been about parenthood and about mothers and daughters in particular, and the strife between mothers and daughters, and like that struggle of like not only control but of like
mm,
love, and like show me, I like the daughters wanted their parents to show them love in the way the doctors want, not the way the mothers want. This film is very much like that, because the daughter Dena, she's like, show me that you care, and Maryam is like, but I am showing you that I'm caring. I'm fighting for your freedom. I'm fighting for equality for women, for women's rights. And then it's like, I want you to show me that I care, And I thought it was, and it's heartbreaking, but it's such an important thing to highlight, where you're
mm,
talking about a parent can say, I'm fighting for human rights, and the daughter's like, what about my human rights? What
yeah,
about my right as your daughter? So talk to me about that, because I also find it interesting when male writers and directors write such, I think, um, nuanced stories about female characters. And I think Mohammed did a fantastic job with these two characters. So talk to me about these characters, and we're working with Mohammed and the actresses to really flesh out who these two characters are, Maryam and Dena.
yeah, yeah. True.
Mm.
Yeah, that's is. I think it needs a distance, or yeah, a distance to the issue, which usually people which are so much involved don't have, to understand that by fighting for the society, by fighting for human rights, by fighting for kids' rights, women rights, you fight also for your family.
Yeah.
So this is included, but a young girl don't cannot understand that, because it is so much hurt on her own, that she cannot abstract and say, okay, I know, Mama, when you fight for everybody's right, I am included too. She just want to be seen by her mom,
Mm.
like other mothers see their kids, and and this dilemma um, is very painful for both sides,
Yes.
for mama and for the kid, and yeah, and I think it is it will be solved. It can be solved not immediately, but it needs time to overcome this wounds. Yeah.
And how did you work with the actresses to figure out their dynamic? Because like for half of the film, they're separated. For half of the film, it's Maryam making her way to them and them waiting for her. And then once she's there, then so much conflict in her personal life arises. She's accustomed, she's grown accustomed to conflict to her personally because it's her. When she was in the prison and fighting when it's personal, just her. But now she has conflict from someone else directly, and it's her own child. So talk to me about developing their dynamics once they started to act together.
Oh, I think when we were rehearsing, it was very clear. We were very much able to set up the everybody's position and everybody's point of view. Tanaz Molaei, which is playing the role of Dena, is 70 years old, and is a very young actress, and I had a big joy to work out with her with this standing of Dena, where actually she is the only healthy person in the family, because she is the one which says, I have to care of myself, because if I don't care of myself, nobody will do it.
Right.
And she is not only taking care of herself, but she also takes care of her father and her a younger brother. So, and from that point of view, she could go for a discussion or for exchange with the mother, which is for years not present in the family. I don't know the pain and don't know the struggles of the family really. And and you had this situation of this girl, and then you had the situation of the mother, which thinks the kids don't need only a roof on their top and something to eat, but they need the equal rights, they need the dignity, and they need the respect. And I am fighting for them, and that is my motherhood. So, and then when you had these two different positions, you could leave them and let them clash on each other. So it worked quite well.
It did, because I understand both of their positions very clearly, because I myself, like all women, was once a teenage girl. I myself have had the same similar arguments with my mother, even up until now as a grown woman. But as a grown woman, I also understand Marianne's position. But the thing is, and the things I think the thing that's really striking is for teenagers, particularly like for Dena's age, she's looking for a mother to help guide her into womanhood. And that's what she's trying to tell Maryam, but Maryam isn't getting it, because Maryam's like, I'm protecting your rights and as for women's rights and stuff. But then it's like, I don't even have you here to guide me into to womanhood. Like, okay, I have rights as a woman, but I don't even have you to show me what being a woman is. Right. And Maryam doesn't get that. So I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. I think it is not only a clash of mother and daughter, it is also really a clash of generations. Because the generation of Maryam, how she saw getting adult was different or is different than the way how Dena is looking to getting adult. And the living style is so different. The mother is a revolutionary person. She's fighting, fighting, fighting. And the daughter she tries in the huge, heavy shadow of her mother, live a normal life.
Yeah.
Which is impossible. She just want to be. She's in the age where kids try to be the same like the other kids. Don't be special. Just be like the others.
And it's Sorry, no, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I was just thinking about it as we were speaking, but I was thinking it's not only generational difference, it's location.
Yeah,
Because Maryam is talking about freedom for equality for women in Iran, but then it's like, I don't even live in Iran anymore
yeah,
because of what you do. We had to flee. They had to go into exile, and so like she's also saying, I can't even grow up as a woman in Iran because your actions of fighting for freedom made our family flee.
yeah,
And she's like, in Germany, I already technically have the same freedoms you're talking about. So she's like, help me there, guide me there, and
yeah,
marry me. And as you were talking, it just occurred to me. I was like, yeah, the just location alone makes it different,
yeah,
and Maryam does get that. And I think and the other thing she doesn't get is the language. I love how like they speak literally a different language. Like you're talking about their generational language and the needs and wants differing generationally and location wise, but just speaking, they just don't communicate the same way because she understands Arabic, but she purposely chooses to speak in German because she's trying to isolate her mother. She
mm,
speaks to Allorz and their dad in German, but she knows her mother doesn't understand that. So that's her way of kind of like maintaining control. So talk to me about that because I just think it's so fascinating in films where you have characters who speak different languages. And in this one, the mom, she's just like, I don't understand my daughter at
yeah,
all.
yeah. That's true. And it is additional pain also as you said, Dena wants to show her mother, you don't understand me, and you don't get me. And the mother is, of course, in pain because this is their reality. She was for years isolated, and now she figures out, oh my God, this kid is really somewhere else. This is
Mm,
not, yeah,
yeah, she is, and the whole film is basically about Maryam on this really treacherous journey. Like she's going from the prison and she's sick and she has to walk through the mountains in the ice cold, the cold mountains all alone. And all she has to guide her is look for a village with some lights, and it made me think of like, we say always look for the light at the end of the tunnel. But in this one, it doesn't really work that way because she's not in a tunnel. She's in the mountains covered by snow and it's all white, which can be actually more isolating than being in a dark place because the whiteness can be overwhelming, like visually overwhelming. And she's cold. So like she has this external pressure coming. So like talk to me about that because like as a challenge for her as a character, but for also like you and your film team and having to work in such a challenging environment.
yeah. Well, this film was challenge for everybody.
Mm,
The whole movie. I think the conditions were so harsh
mm,
that the tempo and the rhythm we had was extremely high, and the time was limited. So, uh, but I liked very much, even though it was really, really tough, but I liked it very much because I believe that it transport itself also into the movie, so audience can see this is no fake. The It was really hard, and it
yes.
was really cold, and it was really difficult to walk step for step through the snow,
Mm,
and 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 it is really not only the pain and the difficulty, physical difficulty, what takes place, but it is also leaving so much behind you, and going a new way. It is also very painful, and I hope we could catch it in this film too.
You did because the coldness really made me think of like how isolated Maryam is, and like how isolating just having to do all of this is, like she has her friend who picks her up and drops her off, and her friend is telling her to just leave, don't look
Mm,
back. And so she's in this, that's where she's like mentally isolated from everyone. But then I was thinking that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think her sickness is actually defined, like it's not explicitly said what is exactly wrong with her. So I was thinking that her and it's something related to her chest and her heart and maybe her lungs. And I was thinking, she's heartsick. That's where the sickness actually is. It's
Yeah.
more of a
It is
physiological.
actually, it is defined like like a heart attack in
Mm,
the prison, and then later on she has a spasm. But yeah, it is a heart sick. It is, she has a pain in her heart, uh, as well as physically, and but also mentally and emotionally.
yeah,
So yeah,
that's kind of how I interpret it. That she just sick at heart for everything. She
yeah,
misses her family, she misses her kids, but she misses the friends that she has. She misses the potential of
yeah,
what she's fighting for. She's like, I
sure,
want so much for women and I want so much for my country, and it's just making her like sick, like physically sick, like homesick in a sense,
yeah,
like she's pining away for something that she lost. So I just thought that was a really fascinating aspect of the story because I just thought like again, usually and because it's a female character, because usually we don't really get female characters with these kind of like physical ailments, like usually it'll be like a male character. But for her, like I have because me myself, I'm disabled. I have MS and fibromyalgia. So I was actually pleasantly surprised to see a character with like a physical ailment like that, and like that is a part of her story, that is a part of her journey.
mm.
And I thought it was really special. And so for you, I want to ask you, in making this film and in speaking with the cast and everything, what was something that made that you, with all of the films you've made and all the different genres of films you've made, in the process of making this film, is there something that made you think of your home differently, in your country, but also as you yourself as a filmmaker and how you relate to your country and your home through film? And like, did it change anything or made you think about something differently?
Well, when I decided to make this film, I knew I have a huge responsibility for this people in Iran. I mean, Iran was or is undergoing the first feminist revolution in the world, um, which is a huge step for the human being. And um, to try to show a very small part of this movement means to take a huge responsibility.
Mm,
Um, to talk about women which are really paying a high price. As a man, it means you have to be very, very um, careful and try to be so as much as possible connected to what is going on, and really be there, be in the moment.
mm,
So um, I have a huge respect for the people, and I got even more by doing this movie, because I had to dive into their souls and into their way of thinking and way of decision making decisions, and put me in their shoes. It is yeah, it gives me completely other perspective and gives me much more respect for the way they are going.
mm. Yeah, like and I think to me that comes through in the film because you can see there's so much care and respect in the film. And so we're gonna wrap it up. So my last question for you is, I know sometimes for a lot of filmmakers, when you're in the process, you can't really see all the pieces coming together, but then once after you finish everything, especially after showing it here at a film festival, what are your thoughts about the film from your own perspective? Not necessarily as a filmmaker, but just as like an audience, because you got to see it here at TIFF and you got to see it as an audience. Like, what do you think about your own film?
About my own film.
Mm.
I think it is, well, it is, since it is not my own film, it is the film of this whole team, and
Mm.
this team was really incredible. Uh, Vishka Asayesh and Matthias Neumann, my DOP, were great. Vishka as Maryam and Matthias, my cameraman, they were dancing together through the scenes and creating moments which are so strong. And I sit in the cinema and watch it and think, oh my God, how do they create that? And that makes me so happy to see that um, we all were able to create this moment of intense love and honesty and transparency between the people. And I learn a lot from that.
And you said something that I literally never thought of before, but the one constant in not only Vishka's life as the actress in this film, but I think the one constant for every actor is the camera. You know, like scene partners can change, sometimes directors can change, production crew, everything can change, but the one thing that remains constant is the camera. And I think that's such a fascinating, a fascinating way to
Yeah.
exist as a performer.
And our camera in this movie is very special because we just used two lenses and very wide lenses. So Matthias, our DOP, had to be very close to the actors, and he was really nearly on their face.
Mhm.
So uh, to accept as an actor or actress to to have somebody so close to you the whole time, it is really an issue. But on the other hand, this camera captures everything, all the emotions, all the situations. So it was a very intense situation between the actors and the camera also.
Yeah, it was. And I think it just made the way, as you're speaking, that really did make me think of, I've always appreciated like all the people, everyone involved with the film, like not only the actors and directors and producers, but also like everyone who was behind the scenes, camera operators, riggers, and all of that. But this film really did make me think of how camera operators really are the constant
Yeah.
in an actor's life, and they are just as much a performer as an actor. You know, they gotta like work with them and just be there and like get as close and personal, get them to be as like comfortable in front of the screen and show everything. So like I would have to say like also a special congrats to the camera operator for this
Yes.
aspect, especially
Thank you very
because this,
much.
yeah, especially because this film focuses on her so much as just as a solo character. So the
Yeah.
camera probably is a character as much in this film, you know,
True.
as her
True.
as she is. But
True.
but thank you so much for speaking to me, Ali. This was great, and I appreciate you taking the time for talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and
Have a
congratulations.
have a nice time.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day and
Bye
rest. I
bye.
know like
You
festival
too.
season is very tiring.
Yeah. Thank you so much.